Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here to do a video that was actually requested through my Twitter. I did a poll asking what video you guys want to see next or first in terms of end of the year videos. Your options were worst books of 2018 or most disappointing books, best books of 2018, or my goals for next year. And goals for next year won out by a pretty big margin, so that is what this video is today. So I'm splitting this video into kind of two categories. The first one being like bookish and booktube related goals, and the second one being like personal and life goals, I guess. So without further ado, let's get into the ways that I'm gonna better myself in 2019, maybe. So for booktube, I have a few goals. These are in no particular order. One is not more important or better than the other. The first goal I have for booktube is to focus on quality over quantity. Last year I burnt out for quite a few reasons. The first and number one, being depression, but also I was so stressed and focused on getting videos up with frequency. I needed to have a set schedule. I needed to make sure I had content out every week. And honestly, it's more stress than it's worth for a hobby. So I decided that this next year I'm going to focus on, like I said, quality over quantity. If it only leads me posting 2 videos a month, so be it. I'm going to film what I want to film. I'm going to film what I want to film. And I feel like you guys are going to get a more genuine me and more genuine content because I'm not going to be forcing myself. And honestly, I'm excited about that. So this next goal is actually a repeat of a goal I had this year, and I found it to be quite nice, and it's what a lot of people actually have done. And that is going to be using Goodreads just to track my reading. So for this next Goodreads goal, I guess, the reading challenge they do, I'm only going to put it out 1 book, which is what I did this past year, so that I can quickly look at my reading challenge and see all the books I read this year. But I'm not going to challenge myself in that way to read a certain number of books. And it really helped this year. I did not feel pressure to read a certain number, which is great because I went like 5 months without reading. So clearly if I had set my goal at like 50, which is what I read the previous year, that would not have happened. I think I maybe read 20 books, maybe. And most of those were at the beginning of the year. So I'm gonna do the same thing. Like I said, I'm not going to, force myself to read, so I'm not gonna set myself a goal other than 1. And, reading should be fun. Like I said, this is a hobby, and I'm gonna start treating it as such and having fun with it and not pressuring myself. Kind of along the same lines in terms of pressuring myself, I'm gonna start reading or focus a lot on reading what I want to read and not feeling pressured to read what's popular. I've talked about this before, and I'm sure a lot of people also feel the same way, is there are a lot of books on booktube that are really hyped, everyone's reading, and maybe for good reason because those are great books, they just released, they're hyping up a new author, for whatever reason. And I will want to read some of those books. Some of them sound interesting. I have read some of those books and have quite enjoyed them, but I feel like there's almost this pressure to kind of conform and read, what everyone else is reading. And maybe this is all made up in my own head, or maybe it's a pressure some of you guys have also felt. But I feel like it's also kind of boring to watch the same reviews, well, not reviews because everyone has their own personal opinion, but the same books appearing over and over and over again in videos. And I don't know. I like reading young adult and I like reading fantasy, but I also like reading nonfiction, and I've started reading historical romances, which if you guys have recommendations, let me know down below. It's a very intimidating genre to hop into, and I don't even know where to begin, but I digress. So I feel this pressure to read kind of what everyone else is reading, or else I'm not gonna get views or subscribers. But at the end of the day, if I'm reading what I wanna read and it's costing me subscribers, but I'm happy because I'm reading what I wanna read, then, so be it. And that's why this is one of my goals for booktube, is just kind of focusing on reading what I want to and not feeling pressured to read what everyone else is reading, which I think was also a goal for this past year. I don't remember. I don't feel like rewatching that video, if I'm gonna be honest. So now hopping into kind of life goals, like kind of with the booktube goals, these are kind of abstract general goals. I don't have very specific ones like by the end of the year I'm gonna lose this much weight, or by the end of the year I'm gonna blah blah blah, you know, not like very concrete specific goals, but they're more abstract. So the first one is I want to make 2019 the year of self-care. So like I said before, I've struggled immensely with my mental health this past year, and upon talking to my therapist I realized that I don't practice self-care. And I always thought of treat yourself as kind of with food, and you know, well, you know, I've been having a shitty day, so I'm gonna eat these 4 cookies. And that is a way to treat yourself, but there are so many other things that you can do without spending money, like taking a bath, like painting your nails, like baking something you want to eat, like watching a movie. And I really want to focus on myself and self-care this next year, because I need to start treating myself better, both mentally and physically. And I think if I make self-care a priority, even if it's something small, then I will kind of achieve that or strive towards achieving that. And kind of in the same vein, some of you may know that I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, the hypermobility version of it, which means that basically my collagen in my body, the collagen protein is faulty, so my joints are extra bendy. I'm very hypermobile. I'll show you, like my hands go back really far. I can do this and touch my wrist. I don't know if I can do this hand. I can twist this hand all the way around. I'm very, very much double jointed. This creeps my husband out when I show him. I don't know if you guys can see it, but yeah, so in a lot of ways, I'm very double jointed. Unfortunately, and maybe what a lot of people don't realize, is this causes me a lot of pain in my joints because they're not stable. Especially recently in my hips, I've been going to an orthopedic doctor and doing physical therapy, trying to maybe figure out what the hell's going on with my hips, because I have a lot of pain to begin with, but it's really focusing on my hips right now, and it is becoming debilitating in some ways. But anyway, this is not a pity party for myself. This leads into my next goal, which is listening to my body and knowing when, or learning rather, when to push myself and when to, you know, kind of take a rest day. I guess this can also apply to mental health, and knowing when I need to kind of push myself to get things done versus when I can take some time to myself. But I really need to start listening to my body, and, you know, if I'm in an immense amount of pain, start being a little proactive. You know, I've started using like Bengay cream. I've been using icy hot patches and just menthol patches. I have a rice sock that has become my best friend. I also use a TENS unit. Like I'm trying to be a little more proactive with my pain and managing it in other ways than just Advil or painkillers, because I know those long-term can be damaging to your body. I'm also trying to take supplements like glucosamine and things like that. So if you guys have any suggestions on ways that maybe you alleviate your deep chronic pain, let me know. But yeah, so this is not a fun thing to deal with. If you guys have questions about it or want a video on that, just let me know. But so self-care and, you know, listening to my body in terms of my chronic pain are things that I want to focus on. Also being proactive, like going to the doctor or going to the therapist like I'm doing, to kind of try to get answers and not just live in my own misery, whether or not it's mental health or physical health. I'm just trying to be proactive about both of those this next year. So the last kind of life goal I have is I want to get a little more organized and get a little better about being on top of like taking care of myself in terms of like, you know, brushing my hair every day and things like that. Shout out to depression. But also like taking care of my house. I'm a cluttered person, and I always have been. I'm not like messy in terms of there being like food and dirt and like gross things everywhere, but I do end up pretty cluttered, especially because, you know, by the end of the day I'm usually very tired and I don't want to, you know, spend the next 2 hours cleaning. So things add up, which I'm sure a lot of people deal with. But I was talking to my therapist actually today about, you know, I focus so much on how other people clean and how other people organize and their systems, and I try to mimic them and they don't work for me, and so those tasks don't end up being done. So I kind of want to focus this next year on maybe getting rhythms and routines that really work for me and not necessarily base them on how everyone else does it. So for example, like the way everyone else does a planner, or the way they kind of organize their events in their life, or you know, even if it's just chores, how people do laundry. Like I have these expectations of myself because I see the way other people do these tasks and assume I have to do them the exact same way or else I am failing in some way, which is clearly not the case. So I'm going to try to focus this next year on figuring out how things need to be done and work in a way that works for me and my schedule and myself versus trying to kind of conform to how other people do things. So yeah, those are the goals I have for 2019 so far. I'm sure that I'll think of some small goals here and there, but like I said, I kind of tried to focus on more abstract goals, things to strive for, versus like concrete, tangible goals, because I feel like abstract goals are easier for me right now and easier for me to work towards versus, like I said, you know, I want to make sure to do a face mask twice a week or walk this many steps in a day, because I am just not there both mentally and physically, and I don't want to end up making myself feel worse in the end by not reaching some unattainable goal. So let me know some of your goals for 2019, whether or not they are personal or bookish, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.